So, hello everyone, and welcome back to the 1 Point Safety Show with myself, Scott Hartley, and my glorious co-host, Scouse Andy Lockhart. How are you, mate? You all right?
Yeah, all good, man. All good. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you. Yeah, busy week. I'm glad it's Friday tomorrow. It's been a busy one this week, but the weather is just awful. So if you're listening from the United States, it's absolutely hammering down most of the UK. So yeah, not good, not great at the minute. So much for the Indian summer that hasn't come. But we're delighted to be joined by a fellow UK Commanders fan and good friend of ours, Peter Chilton. How are you, Pete? You okay, mate? You good?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Not too
Good,
bad.
good
Nice to
stuff.
be
Thank you
talking
for
to you
joining
after
it.
a
Yeah.
win for a change.
Indeed. It is Victory Thursday, we're calling it. And yeah, absolutely delighted to have you on the show. It's been a long time coming. You were unfortunate enough to spend 7 hour plane ride with us a couple of years back.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know what I mean? It's not good, not good for anybody. But yeah, no, getting on to that though, what a weekend, there's a bit of news. We'll get through the news first. And the first bit of news is Tress Way was up for top special teamer in the NFL this week. He won Special Teams Player of the Week for Week 9. So well done to Tress there. And the only other news has really been around the Sam Howell talk. It seems that the whole media circus throughout the NFL has now got on the bandwagon of Sam Howell, and a lot of the organization has come out and said that he is the guy, or they're very close to announcing him as the guy moving forward. Jonathan Allen was very complimentary in his post-game press talk, saying for the next 5 to 10 years, it looks like we found our franchise quarterback. What are your thoughts on that then, Scouse? Do you think Sam is the guy?
Well, I've always been. If anyone's kind of listening to my pods anyway, I've always been in on Sam Howell from the beginning. So, because I just know his body of work from college. I know that how good this guy can be. So, I know NFL's a different level, of course, but the guy's got the skill set needed to produce, and now we're starting to see it, and now the NFL themselves and all around the NFL are starting to see it. He just needs to produce on the national media game, so that's why the Dallas game, when it comes to Thanksgiving, he's got to show out. If he does, then obviously he'll be the guy, and everybody be raving about him even more so, especially the national media more than the local.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, I'm high on Sam Howell as well. It's the most. I wouldn't say. I'd say I'm the most excited I've been on a quarterback in a long, long time. I think in my fandom, it's very much this is the next thing, next best thing we've seen
I remember
since
you saying you wanted Brissett
RG3.
in. I remember you saying that.
No,
Don't bullshit me, bro.
not at all, not at all. Pete, what? I don't know where you've got that from.
So
Pete,
Brisket was going in week 2. That's what you said, man.
I don't think so. Pete, what's your thoughts on Sam? Is Sam our franchise guy? Is he the guy moving forward?
I think he is. I think he's got a really good chance to be that person. I think when you look at his season's work, I think him and Bieniemy probably needed to figure each other out, what sort of worked and what didn't work. And the last couple of games, I think we're starting to see real sort of progress with him and real maturity after like making mistakes to bounce back and just sort of put it to one side, forget about it, and lead the offense. And yeah, is right up there, isn't he, with like touchdowns and yards this season against comparing him to some of the top quarterbacks that you rate over the last couple of seasons. So I don't see any reason why not. If we can keep him upright, keep him sort of trying to get that ball out quick, then yeah, I think the only way is up for him. So fingers crossed we have found that person.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think to your point there as well, and to your point, Scouse, is it's been one of them seasons where we're kind of middling again, and we don't know whether we're going to kind of make the wild card or we're going to drop off either way. I mean, it's been a disaster a few weeks ago to them being actually it's not too bad now. We're kind of on a bit of a high coming off a win. How good that win will be. I mean, that'll come towards the end of the season when we all look back at everybody's records moving forward. But yeah, I think Sam is the guy. I think it's no coincidence that we've made changes structurally to the offensive line, and that's made a difference in keeping Sam upright and keeping them sacks away. But for me, it's things like the footwork's coming along, the poise is there. I think Sam's got all the throws in the arsenal, every single one of them he can make. But his short game and short to medium throwing game is kind of, I don't want to say dink and dunk like Alex Smith was when he was here, but that's kind of what we want to see. And then it opens up that long play further, the deep ball further down the game as it's there. You've been mightily impressed with him, and I mean, hats off to you, Scouse. You've been on the Sam train for a long time. I haven't been on and off, but I'm sitting next to you with a ticket in my hand, waiting to roll
I'm
into
in first class, mate. You're on the back end somewhere.
Yeah, I know, mate. I'm with you. But I do think we have someone in the building who we can build around, and I think that's going to be important to build around Sam. And with all this draft capital that we have got going into 2024 draft, it's going to be a really interesting time to see whether we can build around him, and we're not now going, oh, well, we're searching again, because rinse and repeat, we've done it far too many times, and I just want to see someone under center who is
this guy's the most talented quarterback we've had in a long time. You probably say RG3, but then even then, saying that RG3 wasn't a very good passer. Do you know that RG3 only had like 3,200 yards total all season, and Hal's at 2,400 or something like that already.
Yeah.
So we'd see the difference there, because obviously he was a running quarterback and he just tore people up that way. So, an actual true passer, a true actual quarterback, not some gimmick offense guy. He's the real deal, man. He's the real deal. He really is.
He is. So we'll expand on your point then, Pete, if that's all right with yourself. You said there the last couple of weeks it's got better. Now, do you think that's down to EB changing his scheme, or do you think that's down to Sam maybe learning the playbook and feeling each other out, as you suggested before?
I think it's probably a combination of both. I think one thing we've all kind of noticed is when he's getting under pressure and there's nothing there, he's starting to throw the ball away. He's not holding on too long and waiting for someone to come open. So I think it's just him maturing. And I think you've seen against New England, there was a lot of sort of quick sort of slants and stuff just to get rid of the ball, and they were like making yards, and obviously his confidence was getting up and up because the completions were going well, and then he had that decent run on the third down where he made the 23 yards and
23
stuff.
23 yards is mental.
So I think it is a bit of scheme which has helped him. Obviously, the O-line has changed. I think Chris Paul's come in, and I think, you don't notice him so much, but that's probably a good thing because he's not getting beat. So you're not hearing his name on the TV. Like Sadiq Charles, you heard every week getting beat and stuff. So I think that has... And, obviously with Larson at centre as well has made a huge difference. And I think it's just seemed a lot more solid, give him a bit more time. Not loads more, but enough for him to go through his progressions, get rid of the ball. But I think it's a combination of the two. And like I said, just feeling each other out. Because obviously Bieniemy is new to this as well, being the out-and-out signal caller. He hasn't got Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes there to sort of bounce ideas off, and Mahomes to sort of, make something happen just because of the player he is. So it's all new, and they've all got to get close and get their ideas together and, feel each other out. And I think we're starting to see that. And what we need to see that now is over the next couple of games going into the Dallas game, we just need it to be consistent.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Scouse, I mean, here's a question. Simon Thurston put us a question in. Simon, great guy. Met him at the Edinburgh draft party. Top bloke. He's put in, can Sam break Kirk Cousins' franchise record as 4,917 yards in a season? I mean, he's on target almost for that. I think he's on target for about four and a half.
He's got two things going for him, hasn't he? He's got an extra game. Yeah, that's one thing. And he's also gets to throw the ball 40 to 50 times a game.
That's true. Exactly,
so as long as he doesn't keep missing his receivers, he should break it, to be honest. He should stay healthy.
Yeah, you're right. You're right there. You're
extra games, right. He throws it more than Kirk did, so why not?
That's true. And thanks for your question, Simon. I mean, obviously that was to the point there as well about it. Yeah, I'm on the bandwagon. I think it's the right thing to do. I think Sam Howell is our guy moving forward. I'm just thoroughly impressed with him. Do you know what I mean? And it proves that he doesn't have to be, you don't have to be this all-seeing first-round talent, first-round pick that, is right at the top of the draft. That doesn't always work. I mean, if you look at every...
Should have been, to be fair.
He should have been, you're right. But if you look at every quarterback that's came out of this draft class, just gone. And even the class before, you know, your Kenny Pickett's of the world, your Malik Willis's, you know.
Do you know that Howell has got more touchdowns this season than Kenny Pickett has in 2?
Yes, it's ridiculous, isn't it?
You know that?
It is absolutely ridiculous.
14 to 13.
I mean,
Kenny
looking
Pickett
at
starts every week, 2 years now.
well, looking at it, I mean, we'll go through the stats in a little while, but I'm saying he's better than every single quarterback that's come out, barring CJ Stroud. I give CJ Stroud a pass. I think he's a very, very good talent. And I think if I was Carolina, I'd be seething right now by picking Bryce Young ahead of CJ Stroud. But it is what it is. I mean, you can't give me any of them quarterbacks at all in that draft if you're going to redraft it immediately and say that Sam Howell isn't as good as, if not better. And we have to treat him as a rookie. You know, we have to treat him as a rookie because he only played that one game before. I know people don't want to hear that, but
I mean, how many rookies though?
10 games,
40 to 50 times.
Well, that's it. And the other thing, you said it last week. You said it last week. You ask any quarterback to throw 40 plus times, they're going to make a mistake. They're going to make a mistake. It's inevitable that's going to happen. I mean, I'm hopeful
averages,
that,
isn't it? Really?
Of course it is. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm hopeful that the enemy will tighten that up and we'll see. I don't want a 50-50 run pass option. I think we have to accept, and we've said it last 2 weeks on it, we are a pass first team now. That is it. You know, this 2-to-1 running offense that Marty and bloody Ron talked about at their press conference, that simply hasn't happened. And no matter what way you dress it up,
2-to-1 the other way, passing.
Exactly. I think so too. I think so too. But yeah, good luck to Sam. I really hope he does well. We'll get on to it then. We'll look at the New England game. So it was a 20-17 win over New England. It seems closer on paper than it did when we watched it live. I mean, there were certain bits that we can go through and talk about, but we kept them honest, but we kept them on. They kept them on the hook, didn't we? Really, and we should have just got away with it. I mean, if B-Rob doesn't fumble, there's lots.
Yeah.
If Sam Howell doesn't throw the pick, it was a lot. It seems a lot tighter on the scoreboard than it was in the actual game. 38 minutes of possession as well for the Commanders against 22, I think.
What's that tell you though when you put 20 points on the board with all that time?
It tells you that either you've made mistakes.
Tells you didn't do a lot. It tells you we didn't play amazing, you know. And their defense.
I think it's workmanlike, isn't it? Is the performance that you get. We're all football fans here. When you have a workmanlike performance away from home and you dig out a 1-0 win, that's kind of where we were. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't pretty to watch, but we got the job done. And I think that was important more than anything to get the job done. Sam Howell stats, we'll go through it now. 29 of 45, 325 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. The rushing stats, the leader was B-Rob again with 18 carries for 63 yards and a touchdown, which his touchdown was very, very nice. I love the blocking from Terry McLaurin. And then Terry was the highest recording wide receiver for this week. It's been John Dotson the last 2 weeks. This time it was Terry, 5 receptions for 73 yards. So any standouts for you then, Scouse, on the day?
On offense, you mean?
Well, both. Either side of the ball, whichever
There's not
you
going to
want
be
to go
defense,
with.
is it? I mean,
Emmanuel Forbes, maybe?
Forbes,
I'll give him his due.
I'm going to give him his due. He played well, okay? He did. He played well. He played like a first-round rookie should. You know, a first-round pick should play. However, you got to take on what the competition is as well.
Mm-hmm.
So he took on, you know, college level receivers. Let's face it, he took in college level receivers. There was no one there that's any good. And Mac Jones is an awful quarterback as well. And even even looked half decent against us half the game because how bad our defense played against them, which that really annoys me. But yeah, I mean, you know, he played well, a confidence booster. So hopefully take it to the next game and actually shut down some of the other receivers this week.
You got anyone, Pete, who you think deserves a bit of a shout out here?
I think Pringle. He showed up when in the clutch moments and got some really good important catches.
Especially
so I think he was a bit of an unsung hero. Yeah,
very good.
There was a couple of times that he was there and made the catch and stuff. But going back to Andy's point about Forbes, you know, he's absolutely right. New England didn't have that big explosive receiver like the DJ Moores, the AJ Browns, and like what it's going to face next weekend with Metcalf and Lockett. So we'll see how he goes on Sunday, because it's going to be a big step up from the New England receivers.
Yeah, I agree with you. One swan doesn't make a summer, does it? Or a swallow doesn't make a summer, as they say. So interesting to see. I give Emmanuel Forbes his due. For me, Jamison Crowder stepped up as well. Thought he was very good as well. Again, similar sort of situation, third downs. That's kind of where we were. Crowder's been very good. I mean, we've got to discuss it. I mean, Juice Delicious has put a question into us saying, Pringle in, Brown out was his question.
Oh, Brown missed that sitter, didn't he? As in like catching that ball
straight through his hands.
Yeah, I should have caught that.
It's bad.
For me, I don't want
off in media as well.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you got it. You nailed it there.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely nailed it there, Scales.
Do your job.
Do your job. I mean, for me, it's like wide receiver 5 now, shouting off in the media. I mean, let's be honest. He probably could have came into this season as wide receiver 4, pushing for wide receiver 3 against Curtis Samuel. But he has fell down the pecking order quite rapidly. And when you're seeing, as you just said there, Pete, that, your Byron Pringles and your Jamison Crowders are getting more touches and targets than him. There's something not quite right there. So I honestly don't believe he'll be with us next season. I think he'd be lucky to make the roster. Is he at the end of his deal? I think he is, isn't he? He's one of them that is at the end of his rookie contract. I think it was the year before. I think it was the year before Sam Howell, wasn't he?
He was the year before Sam. Yeah. This is only Sam's second, so what's his third year? He's got one left, hasn't he? He's got 1 year left.
Oh, will he have 1 year left after this?
You got 4 years, don't you, normally, from a standard rookie contract?
I thought he might have had more targets, though, with the connection from college. But it's just not worked out, has it, this year?
Yeah.
No, I mean, he's got a few touchdowns here and there, but he's always flattered to deceive, hasn't he, De'Ami Brown? And I just think he doesn't run a lot of routes either. He's just a dead straight go ball kind of guy where he's got the pace and he's got the speed, but that's not what we're going to see in Eric Bieniemy's system, because we've discussed it before. If you're running a true West Coast offense, it's a long time to get out of the routes and break out of the routes for the wide receivers, which is why
I don't think it is.
I don't think it is now. I think it's a bit of both. I think it's kind of a mix between Air Coryell.
I think that's what he's done. DB.
They've definitely in the last 2 weeks changed the tactics completely and stepped it down a little bit to a bit of a more dink and dunk style offense, but it's working.
What I've liked from EB recently is that he's getting Howell out the pocket quite quickly. Yeah. It isn't just quick throws. It's actually you see a lot of bootlegs, a lot of rollouts, all those types of things as well. Sam's seems really good, really accurate throwing on the run as well. So when he's running to the sideline, he can deliver that down the field. You know what I mean? And EB's starting to see that he can do that, and he throw it. I mean, that one they threw across the field. I mean, that was an insane throw, wasn't it? I mean.
You never want to see that. You never want to see that
ball flying over. But he found a way. He found a way to make it work, and Pringle was wide open. But that, it was, man. His decision making is getting better. It's getting quicker, and that comes with experience, like we said weeks and weeks ago. The more he plays, the quickly that's coming more super natural to him, subconscious level, and he's just going to ball out.
Yeah, 3 sacks taken on this game. We're back to over 1. We thought that's kind of over the hump, but it's not the 5 and 6 sacks a game that we've been used to. Looking at these sacks that he did take, though, you could probably say that one of them was probably on Charles Leno. The other 2 were kind of coverage sacks where he's backed into them himself, unfortunately, or he's trying to escape the pocket and make a play with his legs, and he's just stepped up and got caught.
As long as it's not 5 a game, then it's fine.
Yeah. Of course,
1 or 2, 3, even 3 a game, you can probably get away with. You like to throw the ball away, sure, but if you have sometimes it can. You have to take one. Just don't lose the ball. Don't fumble it. I mean, that's rule number 1.
We have to talk about the inevitable, then the interception that he threw just before halftime. Yeah, that is. Ultimately, rookie mistakes there that you see, isn't it?
I can't see who he was looking at, though. There was no one anywhere near the throw, was there? It's like
I don't know. Dotson, but Dotson have 4 guys around them.
And he's not the biggest of guys. He's a
worst choice ever, man. Yeah, awful, mate. But yeah, I mean, as he said himself, even said afterwards, that was the worst throw I've ever done in my whole life. Never mind in his NFL career. Just what was it doing? But as Chile mentioned earlier, him, what is so impressive about Howell is that he just forgets about that mistake straight away.
Yeah, just moves on
Right,
and
he
didn't
carries on
put
playing his
anything
game.
into it.
He doesn't let it affect his game going forward. And a lot of quarterbacks will play on that and think about that, or even while they're still playing. And a lot of guys tend to fall apart because of that. That scenario. So he's definitely got the QB1 mentality.
Yeah, I hope so. Moving forward, obviously, we just talked about. I hope he is like that. Really interesting. I'm trying to think if anyone else gets a really good shout out for the team. I mean, B Rob had a
I
good
thought Gibson
game.
had a decent game.
Gibson had a good game.
He ran hard. He ran hard. He ran
did.
like the probably rookie season. Gibson. Someone must have said something to him, or I don't know, but
he's a free agent, isn't he? So coming up,
yeah,
he's a free agent. Yeah, so maybe, but why wouldn't he play well from the beginning of the season though?
I don't know. Again, what you don't know what they're scheming up. Do they? Is he more? Were they wanting him to be more of a gadget man? Do you think since Curtis Samuel's no longer in the team and been injured, they can utilize him a bit more?
Yeah, that makes a good point because he didn't play last week, did he? And Gibson played better because of it. So,
and ultimately, he was a wide receiver in college that transferred to be a running back. So when you see him running routes, it's natural. You can see it's natural for that. It's not natural for Antonio Gibson to run up the middle. It just isn't. When you watch him, he's carrying it like a loaf of bread. It isn't like, it is not natural for him to run up the middle. And we all know it gives you a heart attack every time you're watching it, thinking, is he going to fumble the ball now? That's not a place I want to see him. Chris Rodriguez, I've got to probably give Chris Rodriguez a shout out as well. A great tackle on obviously special teams to pin them back inside the 2. So yeah, I mean, sign the guy up, put him on the defense. Can he play linebacker? I don't know, but there's a spot there if he needs it. There's a spot there if he needs it. Does anyone stand out for you negatively then in the game? Either of you. I'll go to you with this, Pete, first. Anyone you thought didn't have a good game?
Well, yeah, I mean the defensive line. Obviously, we know Sweat and Young have gone. But there was no pressure on Matt Jones that I can remember seeing. I've obviously not watched the game back, but the mistakes he made pretty much by himself just from being a bad QB. But Allen and Payne were pretty quiet, and they're the guys now who are getting the big money. They're the leaders in the defense, and it's all right, Jonathan Allen coming out and saying he's tired of this bullshit, but it's now up to him to lead the defense, and he's got to lead the way on the field, not just off it. So. Yeah, the defensive line, we're going to need to get a bit more pressure against Seattle, I think, and try and disrupt whoever's back there. I don't know if it's going to be Geno Smith or this talk of Drew Lock coming in, isn't there? But they're going to need to get some pressure on whoever that is.
He's had a bad time, hasn't he? That's kind of like he doesn't play well at all. So. You've had a lot of injuries, though. You've had a lot of injuries.
It's going to be an interesting trip to Seattle.
Typical for us, you know what I mean? So
you were seamless there, Pete. You were seamless straight into my next point. So without even having to prompt you, you were bang straight into the defensive line. I mean, that's it, Scouts, really, isn't it? Pete's just mentioned it there. The loss of Chase Young and the loss of Montez Sweat. Do you think this is going to affect us more than we think it's going to affect us? Because we were talking about the depth and saying, well, actually, we've got a decent depth. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think
if you lose 2 players from one position, it's going to affect your depth. It's as simple as that. But are we going to miss Montez and Chase per se? I think much of a muchness, to be fair, from them and Hill. I mean, okay, not the flashiest name, but he actually does a better job than Chase Young in the run game. So okay. It's just one of them. It's just how you're going to scheme it up. How you going to scheme it, really? Are you just going to let them set the edge, or are you going to let them get after the quarterback? Now, if you're going to let them get after the quarterback, you should have just kept Montez and Chase. If you're going to use these guys to actually set the edge and just go, okay, try and beat us, and let the interior defensive lineman actually wreak havoc in the middle, well, then, yeah, that'd probably work better for these 2 guys, because these guys are team players. Hill and Smith Williams, those guys are borders. They're all team players. They're not like Chase Young, who wants to do his own thing. So it just depends how we're going to scheme. So it's down to Del Rio, really, if we're going to miss them or not, really.
Interesting that. I mean, that was my next point, really. We've been asked to talk about Chase Young and his press conference. I mean, if you want to talk about it, that's fine. I'm not particularly fussed about talking about it at all. And I think we can personally move on. I wish him well in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Not really interested in hearing the team's full of winners and you didn't have this and you didn't have that.
It's okay.
He had the it's trying.
We've got to go and play them and towards the end of the season. So let's see if Chase is still injury free at that point. Let's see what he's like there, and then if he is injury free and he plays, let's see how he does. Let's see how he does because we'll be well up for it.
I think we probably will. You're right there, and I also think that I'm not really interested.
Important material.
I was going to say, yeah.
That is your motivational speech right there, isn't it? You know it as well as I mean. There's been many a lot.
That's all you got to do.
There's been a many locker room that we've been in, being whatever sport we've played or watched, where fine well that is going to be pinned to the wall somewhere. 100%. That's what they're going to do. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. New Year's Eve, that is, isn't it? That game. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens.
He didn't even do a goodbye, did he?
Nothing. But at least Sweat did. At least Sweat did do that.
Yeah.
And I mean, fair enough. He's been seen as a bit of a diva, is what they've said. And we're hearing little trickles out from here and there saying that he didn't really want to be here in the first place. And I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear the nonsense after the fact, really, because a lot of the after the fact stuff is for clickbait. It's bullshit. I'm not really interested in listening to what.
Even if it's legit, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. He's gone now. Yeah, he's gone now. We'll move on. Yeah. And that's it. You see, sometimes I've seen half this fan base break down. I've seen people who I've followed on social media for years have real issues with me about how can you have this stand and we've been fleeced and all that. I'm like, hold on a minute. What are you crying for? We have to move on from these players at times. Sometimes players become legends, and that's cool. You know what I mean? And they will always be in your heart. But we get too attached as fans to the players, unfortunately, and it's a business. Yeah. And you have to get what you want.
Either.
Correct.
Chase,
that's
all the talent he's got. I mean, he is a very, very talented guy, and he's massive. I mean, we saw him on the pitch. I mean, how big he is. But the thing is, it's like you haven't produced enough over the rookie 4-year deal. So, goodbye. Shake your hand. See you later. Thanks for what you actually did do in the first year. And, hopefully you do well somewhere else as long as not against us when we play us. Simple as that.
And and we're never going to keep both. And we're never going to give Sweat the contract he's got in Chicago.
I was going to say
that, we just can't afford it.
Didn't I
the
say
$98 million man?
Didn't I say maybe 20 to 25 mil per year
say that
for those two guys? I did. I said something like that. I'd be like, whoa, wait a minute, because Sweat's one of these guys. It's like he's going to be a lot better at the Bears than he was for us. I think he's going to ask us to get after the quarterback and don't mess around with run gap schemes or anything else like that. He's just going to be just do what Nick Bosa does. Get after that quarterback. We'll mop up behind you with good linebackers. That's what 49ers do. That's why Chase will do well at the 49ers.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, $98 million contract for Montez Sweat. Fair play, my boy. You got the bag. Happy days. I'm pleased for you because ultimately these players are going to move on, and it's a business, and they're making their money. And I don't have a problem with anything to do with anything with Montez Sweat. His press conference, I'll see how it goes. I'm not going to sign a contract. 2 days later, bang, you're in. Yeah, thanks very much. I'll sit in Chicago for 4 years. I'm on a shit team. I don't mind at all. I mean, they're in complete rebuild mode as well. So the Bears, but for me, could you sit in Chicago for $98 million and become a franchise guy, rush the quarterback, and basically they'll love him. They'll love him there. They really, really will. And fair play to him. I think that's a
quite a lot's guaranteed. Is it? Is it like 70 odd million that is guaranteed?
Yeah. I mean, the fleece. To be fair, they fleeced the Bears, but to be fair, the Bears had loads of money to spend anyway, so they were just begging for some good player to come there so they could throw the money at them. So, and that's what Montez has done. So fair play.
So our next segment is my favourite of the week, and as it is always every week, it is Scouse's Sizzle. Come on, Scouse, you've got to have a sizzle.
Good old line, Mike.
Scouse's Sizzle, baby.
Good old line, Mike. Now, I mean, for me, it's more about how the D line just not produced. That's the thing for me this week because. Yeah, the Two Hills and all that crap. Yeah, okay, they're like C grade kind of DNs. Now, as you mentioned earlier, he kind of stepped into it a little bit with kind of where the hell is Deron Payne been and John Allen? Where have they been? No, these guys are earning a fucking ridiculous wedge. You got to earn that corn. You can't just earn it from previous years. You got to do NFL's what can you do for me lately, league. That's what it is. It's not about what you did 5 years ago, or 4 years ago, or 3 years ago. It's about what you did last week, what you're doing today, what you're doing next game. And these guys are not producing at the moment. So is it on them? Is it purely on them, or is it more of a Del Rio thing again? Against schemes and all the rest of it. But either way, it's just not good enough, man. I mean, to be fair, I'm sick of Del Rio anyway. I think he needs to leave now. He needs to leave 4 weeks ago, to be fair. But I mean, that is what it is. But I mean, for me, I'm just sick. I'm sick of Del Rio, honestly. Yeah, I think he ruins half the talent in this team. And that's why players get better going out when you play for somebody else. But yeah, Deron Payne, man, God, you got to sort yourself out, man. Got to sort themselves out. I'm just not impressed with them at all. The last kind of, besides the D line's just not actually produced one quality game together. Not like everybody plays great in one game. You see one guy producing, next game you see another guy produce, never together, never as a unit, never was, even with Tez and Chase there. It just never happened. So what's going on with it? Like, we're just wasting these guys' talents, and then they're probably getting pissed off and not really putting the 100% in. That's why the reason why they're not producing right now. So sort yourselves out and sack Del Rio.
Scousey sizzle. Do you know what? I actually thought you were going to go off at the referees.
Yeah, me too.
I thought they were abysmal.
Last week was refs as well. Do you know what I mean? I can't keep going on about refs.
I know, but they were very, very egregious this week again. I thought they were pretty awful.
They always get shafted. I mean, when we actually play half decent, the referees always get involved to try and shaft us.
But yeah, these were bad both ways, though, weren't they? This week
they were terrible.
Face mask on Davis, how they missed that as well. I mean,
the offside at the field goal, I was like, okay, which then turned it round from a fourth down into a first down. I was like, well, this is mad. What is actually happening here?
There's so many penalties on special teams by both teams, man. It was just it really was, man.
Poor.
It was very, very poor. So anyway, we'll get on to our next segment then, which is to preview our away day trip to the Pacific Northwest to play the Sea Pigeons. We're going up there to watch them. Seahawks.
It's the Shitehawks. That's what
the Shitehawks, yeah, or the Sea Pigeons, whatever you want to call them. So Seattle are 5-3, and they are second. They are in the NFC West. They're tied with the 49ers. And we're looking at the injury report. We'll go through ours first. Jonathan Allen and Kendall Fuller were on rest days again, not obviously veteran rest days. Jahan Dotson was also on a personal day, for whatever reason that was. Curtis Samuel with a toe, limited practice. And then the only other one on the injury report is Emmanuel Forbes with an Achilles, but he was full participant in practice. If we go on to the Seahawks side, Jamal Adams, safety, he was on not injury-related rest stroke knee. You've got Jordan Brooks, linebacker, hamstring. DJ Dallas, running back, shoulder. Kobe Parkinson, tight end, bicep. Jaron Reed, nose tackle, tooth. Jackson Smith and Jigba, hip. Yeah, it's got toothache. Kenneth Walker III, chest. And so when we talk about all these players, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's 7 who have not practiced today. And then on limited practice, you've got Anthony Bradford, who's a guard, Trey Brown, cornerback, they're both with knees. Charles Cross, tackle, ankle. Tyler Lockett was on there with a hamstring. Derek Young, wide receiver, groin. Noah Fant, tight end, he's with a wrist. And Derek Hall, linebacker, shoulder. So they're pretty beat up as a team as well. Statistics-wise, we'll go through the stats quickly, and this will be quite interesting for all of us. I looked at this earlier and thought, oh, okay. And Scouse, you mentioned it a little bit earlier, and I think you did too, Pete. You said you didn't know who the quarterback was going to be. So Geno this year, obviously through the 9 games, is 1,802 yards, 9 touchdowns against 7 interceptions and 18 sacks. Not the best quarterback when you consider Howell has over nearly 2,500 yards already, and 14 TDs. So Yes, he's been sacked a lot more times, but at the same
More than
time,
double.
it's
More than double.
yeah, but that just tells you the offensive line, doesn't it? Kenneth Walker is the highest graded running back with 532 yards and 6 touchdowns. DK Metcalf is out there as the receiving leader with 454 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tyler Lockett's not far behind him on 402 with 3 touchdowns. And then Jackson Smith and Jigba, their first round pick, has 272 yards, but has 2 touchdowns across the board. And when you compare that against us, Terry has more yards than DK and has one, I think he's got 2 touchdowns, the same. Jahan Dotson has 386 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then it's Curtis Samuel with 362 yards and also 2 touchdowns. So very similar in the receiving department, I think. I don't think it's much different for anyone. There's no real standout for Seattle. And do you think this is a winnable game then, Pete? What are your thoughts on this one moving into it? Or do you think,
I think
we're going to get smoked?
No, I think this game is like a real 50-50, and I think it literally is who's better on the day. I was listening to the JP Finley and Mitchell show yesterday, and apparently in the regular season we're like 7-1 up there. So we've got a real good record there. My worry is like the receivers they've got, and how we've played against these sort of big, speedy receivers prior to sort of last weekend. So I think they could possibly do some damage to us. I think it might be quite a high-scoring game, just because the defenses. I don't know why, but yeah, it's going to be very 50-50. I don't know. I like to see us win, but I think we might just get edged out.
Gauss, what's your thoughts?
When it comes down to the crunch, I mean, we tend to lose against Seattle. We always do. Like playoff games, we've done that so many times. We always seem to have got them in the wild card when we made the wild card. We've always had to play them, and we have always lost. So I'm not. I don't think it's a 50-50. I think they're favourites definitely. I think probably a 70-30 game for them personally. Some guys are coming back. Gino hasn't played great, but again, he loves a deep ball. Our guys at the back are just not great against the deep pass. You mentioned, DK Metcalf up against any one of our corners is going to struggle. The guy's an absolute beast. He's built like AJ Brown, so and he's just as fast. So this is the big problem with trying to hold on DK, and if you somehow double team him and get away with, then you got the other 2 studs who actually light and fast, and they'll just burn us either way. So we definitely have to pressure Geno Smith, man. We have to get the pressure on him. If we don't, he will just kill us. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I think Tyler Lockett is the key for me. I think obviously with DK Metcalf, it's difficult because he is a big body receiver and we don't really want to see Emmanuel Forbes on there. So please, Jack Del Rio, just give him a bit of help over the coverage. A safety across the top would be fantastic to see, because we've seen this and we've seen him burnt before. And obviously, if he's had a decent comeback game against New England, it'll be interesting to see how he performs against that. But we cannot dismiss, Tyler Lockett. He is the key for them if they're going to win this game. It's going to be a very, very interesting game. I agree with you, Pete. I think it's going to be very tight. Looking at the betting market, I mean, we don't always do this, but Seattle are a 6.5 point favorite going into this. So obviously the money is with them on the betting market right now. I agree with you. I think it's going to be quite tight, but I think we have the better quarterback play. And it's just, as you said, who can come down with it on the day? Can we see some sort of magic from Terry McLaurin or a Jahan Dotson? Are we going to see the turnover battle could be the key here as well?
Our defense just turn up. How about that for a change?
That would be nice, wouldn't it? Complimentary football for an hour. Yeah.
Don't let these guys get ahead of us. We need to start fast. We need to get the lead, and then go from there. And that's how we've got to do it. We can't go 14-0 down against these, because if we do, we're not coming back. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I think for me the biggest key to victory is
class. You know what I mean?
It is, yeah. Bobby Wagner's brilliant.
Wagner's,
I mean, they're
one of the best great Hall of Famers. You know what I mean? He's going to be a Hall of Famer. He is, and he's playing obviously in a linebacker. Obviously, with the secondary.
Secondary's very good
Harry
as well.
Ball
Yeah.
and all these other guys as well, man.
Yep.
They're just some class players, man. So we need to be on our metal to even have a chance to win this game.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I mean, to that end, Jesse says, do we get smoked on Sunday? If you haven't listened to the Bleeding Burgundy podcast or the mashup of the Bleeding Burgundy in a bunker after 1 point safety, that is available on a Sunday post-game stream for 20 minutes. I don't know why it's called that, but that is pretty odd name. But yeah, we're going to get smoked on Sunday, Scouse. What do you think?
I wouldn't go as far as say smoked, but I do think we're going to lose by 7.
Right, okay. So you would.
So I don't know if that's
view,
smoked. You're going to class that as smoked.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No. I think 20 points is by
Yeah,
more
like
than 14 is
but,
probably a smoking, isn't it? You're like, okay, smoldering at 14, not necessarily smoked. But yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be closer than we think it's going to be, but I think we
Seattle just beat the spread.
I think we get edged out just about as well. I think we get edged out. But we'll finish off then with a few questions that we've got in submitted from fan questions. So thank you everyone who's put them in. First one is Commander Viscount John Bowden Grace on Twitter. He said, "Will EB be here next year?" Pete, what do you think? Will EB be here next year?
I hope so. I don't know in what capacity, but I hope he is, and I hope he's still offensive coordinator. We've spoke about him and Howell just getting on the same page, and the last thing you want is for him to be moved on and then Sam's having to learn a third playbook in his third year. You're never going to get any continuity if you keep swapping playbooks. So I think so. I mean, obviously the jury's still out. This ownership group don't really have any ties. They weren't the people who hired him. And I think, he's on an audition, the same as everybody else. So you just got to see how it progresses. But I hope he is here next year, personally. And I hope he's still the offensive coordinator, not the head coach. Then, the head coach has got to agree to have him as his OC. But depending on who they bring in, I know you're quite high on the guy from Detroit. But
yeah, I like him. Yeah, Ben
if
Johnson,
he's got an experienced person doing the offensive coordinator. So, yeah, I hope he is, personally. For those reasons I've just said.
Scouse, what do you think? Do you think EB will be here?
I think it'll be difficult for Johnson if he did take over as head coach and he kept the EB. The problem is Johnson's an offensive-minded coach, and he's the offensive coordinator now for Detroit. So he's not going to want to relinquish all that responsibility, and he wants to obviously mold his team around what he likes. So I couldn't see them two matching up. Like if you did get Johnson in, you'd have to get rid of EB. I don't think you could keep both.
And I don't think EB's at the talent. I don't think he's at the talent pool at the minute to say EB would be picked up on the next head coaching merry-go-round. I genuinely don't think that's going to happen.
He has to continue to produce. As you mentioned, he's an audition for us, but he's also auditioning for other teams.
Mm-hmm.
Who else is going to get fired off the end of the season?
There'll be always 3 or 4, isn't there? Every time.
Second favorite, I think, is a Lieberhouse, is it, or something like that?
Yeah, Matt Eberflus.
Yeah,
Eberflus.
So he's one of the favorites to go. So one's the favorite actually to get fired first. By the
way, so is what do you call it? The guy at Green Bay, Matt LaFleur.
Really?
Was he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's going to get the can apparently. Yeah, so.
Well, you lose a franchise quarterback, and what happens? You go down the drain, just like everybody else. You haven't got a franchise quarterback. You're not going to win. It's as simple as that. No matter how good you are as a coach.
And I think there could be an opening in Carolina as well. I think Belichick could go. There's got to be.
When Brady went, was it great coaching or was it Brady? Well, we all know the real answer for that. If you haven't got a top tier quarterback, you can't win in this league, as in consistently enough to win like 2 bowls. You can't do it. You need a guy. You can't get away with it anymore. You can't have the Ravens of 2000 or whatever it was. Their defense was unbelievable. You can't get away with that anymore. You need a guy, real deal.
To go back to that then, to that question, to that end, do we think now definitely that this is, I mean, we all kind of agreed that this was probably a lame duck season for Ron and the staff moving into it, but do we think that Ron and Jack Del Rio are definitely going to be gone at the end of the season?
Well, it depends again, doesn't it? I mean, it depends. If we go on a run now and win a playoff game somehow, well, then you're not going to fire him, if you win a playoff game. Simple as that. So if we don't make the playoffs, yeah, they're gone. That's just the be all and end all of it.
Are you agreeing with that?
Yeah, I think that'd be gone personally.
If they win a playoff game, though, do you reckon you'd fire him? Would you fire him?
Well, you wouldn't give him a 3 or 4 year extension, would you?
No,
Even
you
if
give
you
him the
just
last
want-
year of his deal and sack him off. That's what you'd do, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
I would do.
yeah. I don't know. I'd let him go personally.
I think, yeah.
And the thing is, the NFC is that bad. We could sneak in there.
We're only one game behind, I think, at the moment.
One game out of the seventh
Yeah.
seed. It's just wow.
That's how bad the NFC is at the minute.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is it more competitive? I don't know. More competitive, maybe.
No,
Not in
The Niners are
comparison to
losing
the
games.
AFC.
They're a good team. I
way.
haven't said they're the best. The Eagles have lost only one. So, and they could have lost to us twice. You know what I mean?
True. True.
Martin Coleman, Burnt Oak Boy, has asked Dotson, yes or no, long term. I'll go to you, Scouse, with that one first.
Oh, it's a no-brainer. It's a yes, isn't it? I mean, the guy's got too much talent to let him go. Obviously, depends how much he's going to want. If it's something like Terry's kind of wage, then you're thinking that's a little bit too steep. But you have to see how it goes. But for me, yeah, I want to stay for a long time.
Pete?
Yeah, I mean, he obviously went quiet, didn't he, at the start of the year? But again, he's the last couple of games, like you said, he's been the main man up until like last weekend when Terry sort of overtook him in yards. But he's made some good catches, hasn't he? The last few games, he seems to have started catching the ball again.
I was going to say, he's had a few drops, hasn't he? So it's
So it must be a confidence thing. Yeah, but no, I agree with Andy. Yeah, I think he's a decent player. And,
Same for me.
To keep him around.
He's talented.
Same for me. He's a wide receiver 1B, isn't he? But I think we wanted him to move into this season as the out and out. Oh, well, we can't really tell the difference between the two.
Most wide receivers tend to struggle in the second year.
Everybody does in the second year.
Because everyone's figured you out the first year. The first year, they're still trying to work you out and what you're good at, what you're not good at. And, if you have got talent, you'll beat these guys, and that's where you'll play well as a rookie. But when you come to the second year, they've got loads of tape on it. They know what you like to do. What are you going to do now against us? And that's what he had a problem with, and that's why he struggled for the first half of the year. More recently, as I say, he started to get back into it. He's probably gaining a bit more confidence again by catching the balls, as you mentioned. He was even doing stuff with catching long snappers and stuff, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Just to get balls into his hand at a pace, you know what I mean? So, he's doing anything to try and clean up his catching, and he has. The last few games he's been decent. So
Cameron McDonald asks, rebuild or reset? He is FK Commanders fan on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it these days. So yeah, rebuild or reset, Scouse. What are you saying?
What do you mean by reset?
I don't know what I mean. As in, like, do you just reset around you with the same staff? Maybe. And I think we talked about it before.
Maybe I'm running the season back the way it was. No,
with the
you
same
can't be doing that. I mean, because unless we win a playoff game, there's no chance you're going to even look at that. So it'd have to be probably a rebuild. Because don't forget, we mentioned last week, I think it's like 20 or 25 guys on contract this year. So that instantly, that's a rebuild. Even if it's not Ron or if Ron's still here, it's still a rebuild. You still got to get another 25 guys in because you're not going to keep all of them. You're going to change it around. So for me, rebuild.
Pete, you agreeing with that rebuild?
Yeah, rebuild too.
Permanent rebuild. Been a rebuild since 1993. What is happening?
The thing with sneaking into the playoffs as well this year, if you sneak in and your record's not great, we're going to be in one of those. The same again, aren't we? We're going to be like mid-pick, and you're
11 to 14th.
You're going to miss out on the top tier tackles. What we want,
and the elite guys are gone, then you just got hopefully hit on.
Exactly. It's that middle of the road
really.
Scene again.
It's a bit of purgatory.
It is. It's always the way. We're always kind of 11 to 14.
More draft capital this time now to go up if we needed to.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
We could do that if we had to. If we love the guy specific.
I'm sure we'll get on to that at some point. So our last and final question is a really good one. This is Richard Cameron, who is Mr. Richard Cameron on Twitter. He said, now we've reached the halfway point of the season, Who are your MVPs on offense, defense, and special teams? So I suppose we can start with special teams because that's probably the easiest one. So for me, it's Joey Sly, and I didn't think I'd say that. He is 4 kicks away on touchbacks from an NFL record.
Yeah, he's got a powerful leg, but he's not accurate, though, is he?
He's not missing now. He's not missed a field goal and extra point
weeks. I'll give him that. I will give him that.
But 6 weeks, Scouse.
It's got to be cheese with his amazing snaps.
Oh wow! Okay,
yeah, daisy cutters, man.
Jeez. We all know the answer's Tressway. Come on, Pete. Is that where you're going?
He wasn't good for a few games. He
had an injury though, didn't he? Wasn't he playing by an injury?
Yeah.
I think Crowder those made a difference on the returns.
100%.
And Gibson back there has made some decent returns. He made one at the start of the last game, didn't he? I think.
Yeah, he did.
So, I think having them back there as opposed to Dax Mill gives us a chance to actually. Yeah. Probably still go with Tressway.
It's got to be in it. Tress is the overall team MVP. That's it. Yeah. That is just it.
He flips the field so well.
He does. What about offense then, Scouse? We'll go to you on offense. MVP for offense.
Have we lost him?
I have one. I don't have a true MVP. The most valuable player. The most valuable player. For 5-6 weeks, it's been shocking. So, that's recently taken on a bang out an even worse team than us in the past, and that's the reason why we sneaked out a win. I mean,
Sam Howell, maybe that's where I would go.
But then you can say, well, he holds the ball too long and he gets sacked 6 times a game and blah blah blah. So obviously the quarterback tends to be your most valuable player, obviously because he's the quarterback and he's the most important position in the game. But is he true MVP caliber at this moment? No, I don't think any of our offenses.
I don't know what you're thinking MVP is. We're not talking the whole wider NFL. I think we're just talking about
the most valuable players in our team. Our most valuable player. At the moment, none of them are valuable enough to be classed as that.
Pete, you got any thoughts on it on offense?
Well, I think it's pretty much the same, isn't it? It is hard to choose. I don't think there's been a standout person because, like, the last few weeks when we've got going, the ball's been spread around a lot. It's not one person standing out.
I say you could go Howell, but
Yeah.
I mean, I would say Cosme probably is the only one I think of. He's had a very good season at right tackle, but
he still gave up a lot of pressure. I'd say Larson has only played 2 games.
True.
All offensive guys until the new guys showed up the last 3 weeks. All 5 of them were in the top 25 of giving up pressures in the NFL. All 5 of them. So one was 1, one was 3rd, one was 5th. So, that's how bad is our offensive line. Now, yes, it showed up a little bit with the 2 changes, but still, it's not great shakes. I think it's EB's more play calling. I think it's saving Howell the sacks personally. But yeah.
What about defensive side of the ball then? And I will go with whoever wants to step forward because the silence is deafening. Yeah,
this is a harder choice than the offense.
Yeah, it is.
They just haven't been there at all, have they?
That's what I mean. No one's been truly consistent world class. MVP type level. But
I think the only one who's kind of been fairly consistent, and I didn't think I'd say this after a couple of years, is Jamin Davis. But he made a mistake at the weekend for that touchdown. But
Curl's been our top tackler, Scouse. But I mean, do you really want to see your safety as your top tackler?
Well, he shouldn't be. He plays linebacker a lot as well.
He does, yeah. He's down in the box a lot, isn't he?
I don't like him there personally, but I get it. He's our best tackler probably as well. Never mind almost.
Interception leader for me, Kendall Fuller. He's had a decent enough season. Started off at like an all-pro level for the first 4 games, but he's been getting burnt as well. Throughout games. I think if you're a corner, it's really difficult. It's the hardest position to play in the bloody NFL. I mean, you're doing everything your wide receiver is doing, but backwards. I mean, no, it's just don't give me that assignment. That is just not what you want to do.
It's difficult,
and it's always geared up towards the pass anyway, and towards the receiver to reward them because pass interference calls are always called when you just think, no, that's, that could be a bit egregious there. There's a little bit of holding. You're never going to get offensive pass interference calls. It just doesn't happen that often. You don't see it at the start, especially if you jam in at the start of a route. But I don't know. It's a tough one. You're right. It's very tough to even pin this down. We've pinned special teams down, but we can't pin the rest of the team down. But what does that say? It says that we're a pretty, not hopeless. That's not the word. It's just inconsistency, isn't it?
Inconsistent.
Average. Yeah, just average.
Bang average team, yeah.
But average, some weeks were great. Oh, sorry. Some halves or some quarters were great. And then other times were just god-awful. We get burned by the worst teams in the NFL, like i.e. the Bears. So
yeah, I know.
This is the problem, man. This is why it's so difficult to say, you could say, if you can go off your fandom, you can pick all the big names, the Terrys, the guys that we genuinely love. But have they actually been true MVP? Yeah, you are the most valuable player in our team. No?
Yeah, it's difficult.
None of them have been consistent enough to say that, to deserve that title, really.
I think these next two games will define where we go, whether we push for playoffs or not. Seattle and New York going into Dallas.
If we can't beat New York, mate, with that Danny DeVito playing.
Danny DeVito, yeah.
I just mate, just fucking
his
fire
name
them
is
all.
not
fire
Danny, is it? What is his actual
Tony?
Tommy DeVito.
Tony or something. Tommy, that's
Tommy
it.
DeVito.
Tommy.
Yeah,
hey, you schmuck.
But yeah.
Yeah,
the Italian American, isn't he?
He is, yeah. See him with his gold chains on. I half expected like a 1970s carpet hanging at the front of his, out the front of his top. But yeah, brilliant.
It could be worse though. It could be the Rams who signed Carson Wentz.
Carson Wentz, true. Yeah, forgot about that.
No, your quarterback Rippians had to play badly to think, shit, I need to get Wentz. You know what I mean? How bad has Ripien got to have played? Man, that was awful, man. Wow. I mean,
funnily enough, I'd instantly dropped
Stafford. You've got to play them. I bet you Wentz has a game against us.
Yeah, we do play them.
You know it.
I bet Wentz kills us.
The red rifle. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Anyway, well, we'll get into the final bit then is predictions for Sunday away at Seattle. What are you going for, Scouse? Score prediction. Tough on this.
I think 27-20.
27-20 loss. He?
Yeah, I was going to go similar. I was going to go 28-24 loss.
28-24, 4 points. The cover is on. I think we keep this close until we get to the fourth quarter. So I'm going to go 31-17 Seattle.
You said you're going to keep it close? That's 14 points. That's a blow.
No, until the fourth quarter is what I said. Till the fourth quarter is what I said there.
Bro. That's smoke.
It's not smoke.
Before.
It's smouldering.
You said 14 points or more to smoking, and you just give us a 14-point defeat.
I think we will lose. So it's not going to be a victory Thursday next week then.
I'm ringing you a cab.
Yeah, exactly. I need to get off. Taxi for Hartley. Yeah, that's it, right? But yeah, thank you for joining us, Pete. If you want to shout out your social media, if anyone wants to go and follow you.
X is at Peter_Chilton. Instagram is at Chill City. Still can't get used to saying X, but there you go.
I know I can't either. It's still Twitter for me. I don't know why, but yeah, I know what you mean. I don't know. I mean, are they still called tweets when you write one? I don't know.
I've no idea.
Or posts now, aren't they? Posts.
Oh, posts. That's it.
That's why you repost when you repost things.
Yeah, of course you do. Yeah. Well done, Scouse. Yeah, that's why you're here, the brains of the show. Anyway, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you time.
And the looks. Don't forget the looks, mate.
Well, of course. Yeah, obviously. Yeah. That's just there. Anytime. Oh, no problem at all. Right. Well, we hope for a win. And we'll catch you all next week. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.